when you talked about like the mental aspect of it, it's somewhere between 80-20 and 90-10 mental, right? If you have a baseline physical fitness, you can do it. And that's just a matter of when it gets tough, and it will get tough, it'll get dark, it'll get painful, you know, can you just keep going until it gets better? And it always does get better. You just got to get through those really, dark bottoms.
Welcome to the Willpower Podcast. All right, Mike, I am attempting to run 100 miles for the first time this Saturday. What should I know going into it?
It's hard, but you can do it. Firm believer that anyone who runs a modest amount could run 100 miles if you put your mind to it and just suck it up when it gets really hard.
How many, so I know you've done multiple 100 milers, correct?
I have. I just finished my 7th a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so going back to the first one, did you, were there moments during that race where you did not think it was possible?
I think every 100 miler I've done, there have been many moments when it felt impossible. The first one for sure. I think I had done 150 miler the year before. I'd done a bunch of marathons before that, before I got into ultras. And mathematically, it's it's double what I did last year. That's doable. And I got double the time to finish. Completely doable. Those last 50 miles are 10 times harder than the first 50 miles. It just exponentially gets harder as you go through. The first year, absolutely. I remember that was the only time I've hallucinated in a 100-mile run was my first one. I think there was some mental toughening that had to happen there. But yeah, I was hallucinating. I lost the ability to talk coherently. I doubted myself all the way through. Somewhere in the 90s miles, I had to walk backwards for a period of time because my quads were so burnt that was the only way I could move. But I had enough time that I could, I can walk backwards for a mile or two and then try to, distribute the pain somewhere else. But yeah, I think I am not an elite runner. Every time I do it, there are moments, I think it's unavoidable. There's moments where you feel like you're not going to be able to finish.
What keeps you moving during those moments? What, when you quit?
Honestly, the feeling of finishing. I think in my life, there are a few things that just gave me so much pride as crossing that finish line at 100 miles. There's a handful of people there. It's not like you're winning the Boston Marathon and there's thousands of people watching, right? It's about yourself. But the feeling for yourself of being able to say that I can do this, and now as I get older that I can still do this, is really motivating, is really driving. And honestly, if I put a little bit of ego spin on it, it's the ability to say I did that, right? It's one thing to say, oh, I attempted a long run and dropped out at 70 miles with an injury. There's something admirable about that. But to be able to say, I ran 100 miles, right? There's something that feels, again, there's some tinge of ego in that, but the ability to say, I can do this, I can still do this, that's a lot of motivation for me as well.
So I just had to Google this to check, but there's an estimated 32,600 people who have finished a 100-mile race since 1980. Yes, maybe you're not qualifying for Boston, but you're putting yourself in the top, 0.001% of people. Not that everyone tries it. That's,
that number's gone up. I remember the first one I finished was in 2011. And I can't remember what the number was, but it was definitely 4 digits back then. So it's definitely gotten a lot more popular, a lot more people doing it. But yeah, no matter what the time is, crossing that finish line still feels amazing, even after having done a handful of them.
Yeah, it's a very insane accomplishment. I know the first time I was ever even exposed to it was reading David Goggins' first book, Can't Hurt Me. Yeah, I had no idea that I thought a marathon was the farthest anyone ever would run. And then I saw that people are doing these 100+ mile races, and I was in disbelief. I didn't know that this was even possible. So
yeah, it was, for me, it was Dean Karnazin. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but another big ultra runner. I think was a little bit popular before Goggins came on the scene. And he wrote a book about literally just, getting up and ran all night, ended up doing 35, 40 miles just out of nowhere, ordered pizza on the run. I was like, wait, like that's possible? Like I was into marathons for a while and same thing. I hadn't heard about longer races. Came across one locally. It was a 12-hour race. I was like, oh, let's give that a shot, see if I can do 50 miles. Felt okay. And then you kind of find there's a growing community of people who do this, which is really awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting when I tell people that I'm, have been training and working up towards this goal of this race this weekend. A lot of people, I don't think I've met anyone specifically where like I find out that they've done it, but everyone knows someone. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I have a friend who does it, or my cousin does these or whatever. And it is interesting. So it's like everyone has like one person in their network who is crazy enough to run these ultras.
And you start drawing them in. So I think for my network, I was that one person. Then my old boss, who I'm still close with, Josh Allen at Cargaroos, he's gotten into it. He's gonna do the same race with me next year. We're pulling some other friends in. So it's yeah, it becomes bigger. People, I think, to your point, realize number one, that's a thing. Number two, I say this with low ego. Oh, if you can do it, I could probably do it. Like, cool, let's go do it.
Yeah, very much. I do think it's a great test of just your will. Like, are you able to just follow through with this thing no matter how hard it gets? Because like you said this, anyone who can just run a bit, like if your body is able to run, you probably can do 100 miles. It's just, are you willing to put the work in, and is your
Yeah.
mental
Yeah,
resolve at that?
you definitely can, right? Like, so I talk to a lot of people who have done marathons, and they've got, there's tons of marathon training plans out there, right? There's not a whole lot of ultra marathon training plans. So look at marathon plans like, oh, you're topping out at 18, 20, 21 miles, whatever your training plan takes you. And they assume that's linear. We're like, oh, like, are you doing 80-mile runs? I'm like, no, like, absolutely not. Like my training runs, like I will usually do one that might be like a 50K, 30 miles.
Yep.
But besides that, it looks almost exactly like marathon training. And the difference is, 26.2, you just keep going slowly, but you just keep going. I tell people a lot, when you talked about like the mental aspect of it, to me, it's somewhere between 80-20 and 90-10 mental, right? If you have a baseline physical fitness, you can do it. And it's just a matter of when it gets tough, and it will get tough, it'll get dark, it'll get painful, can you just keep going until it gets better? And it always does get better. You just got to get through those really dark bottoms.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've had people like, wait, you're not even getting close to 100 in training? And I'm like, you can't just run you can't just run 75 miles on Saturday and then like have a normal week after that.
No, the recovery. Yeah, I've done a bunch of these. So we're actually 6 weeks out from my last one. And I'm standing here, I've got socks. My right toenail is literally taped on. It's about to fall off. Hang on by a thread, but I can't quite get it to come off. So it's taped on. Yeah, I'm not walking normal for a couple days. I'm not running for probably a couple weeks before I do a real run. So yeah, there's a real recovery. And to your point, like that training, if you can do a marathon, you can go longer. It's just a matter of if you want to invest the time and invest the pain in doing it.
Right. Yeah. So not to stick on this subject too long, because I know a lot of people are just going to be like, "What? Why are we talking about ultra training?" But I think for anyone interested, the point of ultra training, in my experience and my understanding, is just getting as much volume over the duration of your training, basically preparing your body for like hell, for just like constant pounding. And I learned this from a guest I had a while back who did a 100-miler, and what he realized during his race was like, oh, my muscles were fine. My muscular endurance was fine. It was actually like my bones and my tendons. Those were the things that weren't really ready for that insane amount of just like constant, continuous pounding. And so I think the point of ultra training isn't, okay, I'm going to run all the way up to 100 miles. Because again, like that's not really feasible, and it's also going to cut off the total volume. So it's the total volume that you can put on your legs while being able to recover and continuing to do more runs.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And just to add on to that, I think one thing I've learned probably just in the last couple of years was just walking as much as I possibly could on top of my running training. So I would, weekends, if I'm going to meet some friends in the city, I'd walk to the city. It's a 7, 8, 9-mile walk, whatever it might be. I'd walk there, walk back. And you're just getting hours on your feet. It doesn't beat you up the same way that running does. But I think it did two things. One was, I agree, like just every part of your body getting used to being on your feet for 20, 24, 26 hours, whatever it's going to be for you. And then number two, mentally getting used to being in your own head for hours at a time, because that's a big part of it too, of you're just thinking about, I think the parts that get me the most are when I try to do the mental math. It's like, oh, I've been running for 7 hours. I've got 17 left. That's rough. Or I just hit a marathon. I've got another 75 miles to go. Like, that is rough. But, if you walk, you do these like 8, 9, 10 hour walks, you kind of get used to being in your own head, and just, to me, it's just zone out. And at some point you kind of come back and like, oh, like hours have gone by. I've done miles. Like, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, so again, I've only gone through the training. So my closest experience was 33 miles. That was my peak run. And like going into that, when you're at like mile 1, my brain can't understand how much farther I have to run. So when I even try and think about it, it's like, oh, I have to run what I just did 32 more times. It's like, it doesn't compute. And it's
Which
just too much.
which race are you doing, Will?
It's called the Brazos Bend
I
100.
thought it might be. I've done that one. I've done that one.
Okay. I saw it's um, a good entry level run, apparently pretty
Very,
flat.
very
Okay.
flat. You will see alligators out there. For me, that was a new experience.
I didn't know that.
They're just hanging out there. You don't bother them, they won't bother you, but they're out there. Really enjoyed that race. It's the only time I've flown for an ultra. That was tough. I think just like getting out around, like I love getting my sleep ready, getting all my gear ready. Doing that traveling was a little bit tough for me. So you're in Austin, you're pretty close to it, I assume.
Yep. We can drive over. I'm driving over Friday and then running Saturday.
Yeah, great race. It's 6 loops, right? It's 16.6 miles, 6 loops. That was a little bit long. Every one I've done has been a loop, but most of my loops have been like 3 miles, 4 miles. It's a long loop, but it's a great course. Super flat, crowd out there. You'll enjoy it.
Okay, so to kind of veer off while still holding on to this topic, how have ultras changed who you are outside of running?
Wow, interesting question. I think it's given me. I was never one to meditate. It's funny now. I'm running a coaching nonprofit. I'd never been coached. I think it gave me a lot of time to reflect on who I am, what I want to be, who I want to be, where I want to go. I think for a long time I was just kind of like following a path that I just thought was the right path because people told me it was the right path. And I think running ultras, I think, taught me two things. Like, one is I can do something different and hard if I want to. I've got the ability to do that. And number two, I think just literally just hours and hours and hours of running and walking and being able to think and reflect and work things out, I think just gave me a lot more clarity into myself.
Yeah, so to talk a little bit about your coaching, let's go there. So you do completely, is it 100% free?
100% free.
100% free. Yeah, I remember the first time I talked with you about this, and I'm sure you experienced this a little bit, but I was like, really? Like that's insane. I had this expectation that it was like some high ticket offer, and then you're like, oh yeah, like we've had this many free sessions, it's all free. You also had a post on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago that I saw where you were like, oh, you were in this call, and then the person on the other end of the call is like, when's the sale coming? Like, is this a sales call? And yeah, I can just imagine, I don't know, what's that like to be able to just give something 100% for free?
It feels amazing. The entire story behind Pay Forward Coaching was, I think, through the running, through that reflection, kind of came to the point of realizing, like, I am just spending all of my time on my career. I am way too singularly focused on that and not the rest of my life and my hobbies and family and friends and all those things. So I decided to take a break. And if you had talked to me in the years before that, I don't think anyone would expect that. Like, I was just someone who's just trying to race to the top, and work was really kind of how I measured myself. Decided through that reflection I was going to take some time off, and then realized in my career I had these amazing mentors that I hadn't sought out. Like, they found me, they gave me opportunities, they gave me advice, they gave me, really the chance to build my career, and I wouldn't have been in a position to take time off if it wasn't for them. So I went back to all of them, said, thank you. Like, how do I pay this back? Like what can I do? And they all said just some version of go do it for someone else. So that was the genesis of how it started. Early on, everyone had the same reaction you did. I would jump into coaching sessions. They'd be like, okay, like what's the catch? Is the first 5 minutes free? Then I pay. Like, when do I give my? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to do something nice here. Never thought it would be a 501(c)(3. Never thought it would have 100 volunteers. Like, literally, I thought it would be, I'm taking some time off. I'll spend a couple weeks doing this and feel good about, my karma in the universe, right? To kind of paying it forward. And then I'll go figure out what I want to do next. And a couple things happened. It got really popular. I think it was just a really tough time. This was fall of 22. So a lot of tech layoffs had really started to pick up. I think a lot of people out there could use that type of help. And then the really cool thing was I had a lot of former colleagues, friends reach out and say, hey, like, I'd love to be a part of this thing. And kind of just put two and two together, and it just organically grew from there.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, it's just crazy to even, I don't know. It's similar to like the 100-mile thing where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I call it a happy accident, Bob Ross style. It was never thought I would be running a nonprofit, never thought I would spend my days not making money and being happy about that. And it's funny, early on, yeah, I'd post on LinkedIn and say, hey, we get this free coaching. And then, LinkedIn comments be like, this is bullshit. It's a bait and switch. I was like, no. And like, I'm not proud of it, but like, I would get into LinkedIn comment fights and be like, no,
Yeah.
it actually is free. Now, we've been around long enough that it doesn't happen very often anymore. Like that LinkedIn post, if someone posted that about us, like, oh, it must be bait and switch. Like, now we've got the credibility. Someone else will jump in and say, no, like, I've done it. It's real. It's legit.
Mhm.
So it's nice that I don't have to spend very much of my time defending that this is actually a thing anymore, which definitely was something that happened early on.
Yeah. So how do you recommend people find mentors? Like, imagine you're early on in your career, other than obviously going to Pay It Forward coaching and signing up for a free session. Like, I'm again early in my career. I want to figure out where I'm going. How
Yeah,
do I
so
find
it's
people?
funny. It's do everything opposite of what I did, right? So I think in my career, I had this sense of there's probably like this dueling thing that was going on in my head. One was I can do this myself. I'm tough. Like, I don't need someone else's help. I can figure it out. There's like some sort of weakness in asking for help, right? I had that part of my brain going on, which was kind of like the overconfident cockiness coming out. And then at the same time, I think I also had this piece of, can I even ask someone for this? Like, do I deserve this? Am I far enough in my career? Do I know enough? And between those two dueling things, I never had proactively sought out mentorship, right? And again, part of the reason of Pay It Forward and giving it back is realizing not everyone gets that lucky, right? Like, not everyone has mentors find them. I think early in my career, I wish I had been a lot more proactive about it. I think finding people that aren't necessarily on the same path that you think you want to be on. I think a lot of times people look at mentors and say, this person is a vice president of customer success in a insurance technology company. Like, that's where I want to go. So let me go find someone who like fits that exact same paradigm. I've learned through coaching, like, I think everyone has so much to give in terms of knowledge and experience and opportunity that finding a mentor that might be outside of your industry or your job description or your field or whatever the case may be, like, there's a ton of value in that. I think one important thing about seeking out mentorship is being very intentional about why you want mentorship, right? It's not just, hey, let me find someone to help me, but like, what do you actually want help with? Like, what are the questions that you could use help with? What are the things that you're trying to figure out? Where are you trying to get to that they can help you? So especially when you do have a session, it's not just, hey, Will, you're my mentor. Like, we're chatting, but let me come with an agenda. Let me come with ways to make it easy for you to help me. So that it's being very prescriptive about what you're trying to get out of it and why you want this specific person to be a mentor for you. And don't limit it to one. You can have any number of mentors that you have time to support. Again, I think as long as you're coming with intentionality and you're making sure you're making the best use of that time, you may have mentors in different fields at different levels and in different places. To me, the more people you can learn from, the more powerful it's going to be.
Right. I mean, like you're saying, it's almost like you're just seeking out some type of general wisdom. And so it's not necessarily specific to my case. I need someone's outside look at what I'm doing and where I should be going from here.
Yeah, and maybe it's almost like a funnel, right? Like early on, I certainly didn't know what I wanted to be. And my career took all these different turns I never expected and end up in places I didn't expect to go. And it might be helpful to kind of like just getting, when you start with that very wide view, it's not just, oh, I went to school for this. Here's what I think I want to do. Let me find a mentor like right in this exact alley. But let me like talk to a lot of different people in different places. And then as I learn more, I can kind of drill down and, okay, like this is what I actually want to do. Let me find a mentor who's a little bit more specific to this. That might be a nice way to approach it, where you're getting all those different perspectives. And then you can start to get a little bit more specific once you have a better understanding of, okay, like this is what I really want to do. This is where I want to be. Now, who of the mentors I've talked to, or maybe it needs to be a new mentor outside of that, who can help me with this very specific thing that I've kind of triangulated on.
Cool. Just for people listening and potentially myself as well, what is there any focus of Pay It Forward coaching, or is it just general like career, business?
It's a great question. So when I started it, and again, started it kind of accidentally, started it very, very vague. It was just, hey, I've got some time. Here's some things that I've done. If I can help anyone, shoot me a message and let me know. It was always intended to be very general career coaching. And if you look at the webpage, like there's examples of look and try to get a promotion. You've got a job interview coming up. You've got a tough conversation, whatever the case may be. We've organically become very focused on helping people with job search. That was never an intentional niche for us to go after, but I think it's how people found us. And I think what I've really discovered is it takes some level of courage to sign up for a coaching session with a complete stranger and then talk about the things that you view as your own challenges, things along those lines, right? I think that's where mentorship might be easier, because a lot of times with a mentor, you're seeking out someone you already have some level of relationship with, right? You've got some level of credibility and trust with. And I think with pay forward coaching, part of the reason we've become, kind of focused on job search almost accidentally is that is when people, I think, are feeling very challenged and very willing to do anything to find help when they've been laid off, and it's an incredibly tough job market right now. And it's, I think, objectively much harder to get a job now than it was 3-4 years ago. And that's when people kind of say, you know what, maybe it is a scam, maybe it's a bait and switch, but I'll take the chance because
Right.
yeah, I could use some help. So I'd say probably 75-80% of the people that we talk to are people who were one way or another out of work and looking for the next role. And then, the other 20%, give or take, is more of the general career coaching of they're employed, but they're looking for something else, or looking for advice on a situation, whatever the case may be.
So to flip the question, I asked about how to find a mentor. How do you successfully be a mentor or a coach?
So I think two very different things, which when I started Pay Forward Coaching, I didn't understand. To me, mentorship is much more about specific information, experiences that I have that I can share, that I can give advice on, that can be very prescriptive on, here's a situation that you're facing that looks similar to a situation I faced. Here's what I did. Here's how I navigated, right? I think it can be a lot more directive. Whereas coaching, and this is the part I really didn't understand, is if you're an effective coach, you can coach anyone on anything. So you can coach someone even if you don't have that personal experience or that personal expertise. It's more about helping them get to their own answer, whatever that right answer is for them. And it's interesting. We call it pay forward coaching. I'd say probably still 1/3 of what I do is mentorship, give or take. Really try to kind of understand the situation and really kind of look at, is this a situation where they're looking for coaching? Is this a situation looking for mentorship? Is there a situation where you're kind of blending the two together? But it's funny because I would say when I started, almost 100% what I was doing was mentorship and calling it coaching just because I didn't know the difference yet.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking with Justin Lund. He'll be on the episode before this one, and he's a coach now. He went through all kinds of like problems with addiction, building a business, and then now pivoting into coaching. And yeah, that was one thing he talked about, was how good entrepreneurs are at avoiding certain things. And I think that, I mean, it's true for everyone. It's not just entrepreneurs, but sometimes like you said, you're just helping someone get to that answer. They have the answer, but for whatever reason, it's hard for them to access it themselves. And I think it is because our brains are they're good at tricking us and playing tricks and avoiding like some truth for some reason. It could be a difficult truth. It could be like hard to look at for whatever reason, but having a coach there to just get you to that point, I think is huge.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think, especially for me, and I learned this going through coach certification and being coached for the first time. Honestly, I was a little hesitant towards it, or maybe like a little bit disbelief of like, is this really going to change? Because in the coach certification, I'm learning how to coach and how to ask good questions and how to help that person get to their own answer. So I'm being coached in a session, that's being part of the class. And I hear them asking the questions that we talked about. I was like, I know what you're doing. Like this, this almost feels like a trick. Like, but then like I actually like had a lot of like personal breakthroughs in those training classes where I knew, you know, to an extent, what questions were probably coming and what the format was going to look like. And I think another piece, I think you're right. I think sometimes it's a tough thing that we don't want to admit to ourselves. I think a lot of times it's just self-doubt, right? Like you know what to do and you know somewhere inside you know you can do it, but you just get that voice telling you, you're not good enough. It's not going to work. It's too much of a risk, whatever those things are. And sometimes it's just, having the opportunity to talk out loud and talk yourself through those things and talk yourself through that self-doubt and realize that the actual facts are you can do this and this is achievable, and just shutting down that other voice that's telling you the opposite.
So yeah, talk me through your career and like how what you did led you to this point.
Sure. So went to school for computer engineering, always loved math, loved science, loved computers. Like I said, like this is a path I'm going on, right? I was meant to be a computer engineer. Graduated, did that for the first 5 years out of school. The first mentor I had, and he was one of the ones I reached out to with the pay forward coaching. He was a VP of sales, the company I was at. And he kept kind of like just pulling me aside and saying, hey, have you ever thought about sales? I was like, absolutely not. I hate salespeople. I hate sales. I hate everything about it. And what I thought I knew about it was you had to be dishonest, you had to be pushy, you had to be aggressive. And, he was telling me, and I wasn't listening very hard, but he was trying to tell me, like, no, you can do this authentically, you can do this honestly, you can do this in your own way. The one thing that did catch my ear was you can make a lot of money. I also knew from the outside about sales, right? So, long story short, my engineering job was going away. He called me up and said, hey, might be a good time to think about sales since you don't have a job. It's like, actually, this be a good time to try it. The real reason I did the CEO of our company, and it was a pretty good sized company, about 1,000 people. The CEO actually called me and he said, like, look, sorry about the situation with the engineering job. But, and this conversation was 20 years ago now. I still remember like it was yesterday. He was just talking me through. He's like, look, every single person on our board, whether they're from a finance background, operations background, they've all done sales at some point in their career. Yeah, he's like, that skill set, no matter what you do in your life, that will help you. So give it a shot. If you don't like it, we can find another role for you in the future. But, you might learn things about yourself. And that was kind of what put me over the edge to try sales. And I loved it. Yardemian was the mentor I was talking about. Everything he said was exactly right. I was like, oh, like I know our product inside out. Like I built some of it. I'm an engineer. I can just go talk about the product and go talk in unbiased fact about, hey, here's what it'll do, here's what it'll help you, here's what it won't do. And that was my entire sales approach, right? It wasn't about the hard close, it wasn't about being pushy, it was just about, hey, like I know this stuff and let me educate on it. If it makes sense for you, cool. If it doesn't, cool. And was able to do really well with that. Moved into leadership and I was awful at it, like just absolutely awful. I think I was the prototypical, like, oh, you're good at your job, go manage a team of people who do that. And I had no concept of what leadership actually was and how to be a leader versus being a manager, and had a few other mentors who kind of inserted themselves in there and said, hey, like, let's talk about some things here. And it's not about, trying to do people's jobs for them or make their lives easier in that way. It's like, it's how do you develop people? Like, how do you help them become better versions of themselves? How do you grow their careers? And I think that's really kind of what the link to pay forward coaching was I loved leadership. I loved working with people. I loved giving people opportunities, whether it's hiring them, whether it's giving the opportunity to promote them and hopefully prepare them for leadership better than I was prepared for leadership. And when I was taking my break in 2022, wasn't even thinking about pay forward coaching yet. But, when I was thinking about taking that time off, it was a good reflection of like, am I burnt out? I think I like my job. Like I don't hate work. And it was a very simple thing, but it took me a very long time to realize it. Maybe it was on a run where I kind of put two and two together. It was like, no, like I love the people, I love the development, I love the leadership, and I don't love like all the other stuff that comes with the job, right? Like the stress of goals, the pointless meetings, the PowerPoints, like all of the other nonsense that's just part of the job, right? And I think that's why I love what I'm doing right now is it's the part of my career I love the most, like working with people, helping people, trying to help them get a better outcome. And then none of the other stuff, right? I just get to do all the stuff I really, really love to do.
So to switch again, so I have an app, a mobile app. That's kind of what I work on right now full time. That it's called Grooves, and it measures. It's like a habit tracking app that also measures subjective outcomes. So it measures the impacts of your habits. So I'm curious, in your experience, what are like the highest ROI daily or how somewhat regular habits that you've noticed to have like an outsized impact? Maybe they're underrated, whatever that is.
So I won't talk anymore about running. That's clearly a big one for me. Like, yes, I if not a run, I'm on a long walk every single day. And for all the reasons we talked about, like that has been a game changer for me. A big one, which I think is very related to the app that you're talking about, for me is just tracking things, right? So I have a spreadsheet I've been keeping, probably goes back to like 2016, 2017, and I record my weight 3 times a week. I record my workouts, both running and other workouts. I give myself a score 1 to 10. Like, what was my nutrition today? Like, how did I eat today? And part of it's just the accountability of like, there'll be times of like, am I going to go have a couple beers? Like, nah, like, I don't want to put that on my tracker, right? Like, no one else has ever seen this except for me. But there's still that self accountability of, I don't want to put 4 beers in the tracker today. But then the cool thing is that you build up a data set. Now over time, it can kind of like just do analytics, right? Of like, okay, like how is my nutrition over time? How is my running over time? I have a lot of qualitative stuff in there of, just like, hey, how did I feel today? And now I can kind of go back and try to make correlations of saying, okay, and sometimes like there are correlations you wouldn't expect, right? Like maybe you would expect it. Like the day after a long run, I tend to have a less qualitatively good day. It's like, yeah, I'm probably feeling a little beat up, right? It's probably weighing on me emotionally in some way. But yeah, and just having access to that data has been a really big piece of like, and every night I kind of look forward to it, especially if I had a good day, right? If I had a good run, I felt good, I ate good, like cool, like let me go document this stuff and go see it. And like that just becomes a reinforcing factor of, okay, wake up tomorrow, like can I do better tomorrow?
Yeah, that's so funny. That's exactly what the app is trying to solve. It's just here's so that the common person who's not you is able to do this without putting together a whole spreadsheet. Because I feel like I've done something similar in the past and I didn't, that's where the app idea came from, but I wasn't able to really stick with it. And so I
Yeah,
think
and
having,
and to be honest, for a long time, I think the spreadsheet was tough, right? Like there'd be times it's just not front of mind, and then be like, oh, it's been 3 days since I updated it. Right now, it's kind of like, okay, well, what did I eat 3 days ago? Like, I actually don't remember, right? So, I'll give myself a 6 and just assume that's right. I think you're right. Like, just having like that front of mind, right? Be able to give yourself a reminder in the app. Imagine there's a lot of ways to make sure you're getting good data that you stay on top of it and get those positive reinforcements, right? Because I think a lot of times my positive reinforcements are, okay, well, I've got to go build some graphs and go see what I can figure out versus having someone tell me, hey, here's what's going well. Like, here's something you might want to focus on, based on what the data says.
yeah,
The other thing I think would be really interesting for you, I'm sure it's something you're looking at, is over, a set of people, like what are those correlations, right? So it's not just, oh, here's what works for me or here's what I did, but here's what 1,000 or 10,000 people did, and here's the what those correlations are. So now you can get a lot more prescriptive about like, hey, you might want to think about doing this because the data says this is something that people like you have found success with.
yep, that's 100% where we're going. And also for new people as well, when you're, I mean, I guess if you're picking up any new habit, even if you're not new to the app, but if you're picking up a habit that you don't have data on yourself for, it's nice to know how it impacts other people. So 100%. I also, like you mentioned just tracking, and I've heard that before. I think there are studies on this, but just when people like track their weight, they will naturally lose weight, even if they're not told. Like they're not told to do anything differently, but they just naturally will put more emphasis on it for whatever reason. So I 100% agree with that. Like when you track something, it just becomes more front of mind. And also you can't do that thing we talked about earlier where you kind of hide from things and you trick yourself into believing that things are better than they really are.
Yeah. And it's funny, like just like a little nuance in that, right? Is I track everything daily except I do my weight Mondays, Thursdays, Saturdays. And what I found was like the daily fluctuations would actually get me down, right? And it just might be that
Mhm.
I've got water weight, I've got something else going on, but I see it go up by point 0.6 in a day, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm I'm going the wrong direction by point 0.6. And I was like, okay, like let me stretch this out, and then like the data will trend, kind of like you get rid of some like that volatility, and you can actually see the trend. But
Mhm.
like mentally, it was too much for me to do that all 7 days because even if I understood why it was going to vary day to day. Like I didn't like seeing it. It was demotivating. So it's like, okay, I got to make a change there.
Yep, 100%. And like, yeah, like timing your water because you want to get the scale reading when you're lowest. It's like probably not the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely fall into that, right? It'd be like, I'd make sure I do it in the morning. I weigh myself, first thing before I brush my teeth. But same thing. It's like wake up thirsty. Like I would actually have like that. It's like, well, I'll weigh myself first. Like long run, it makes absolutely no difference.
Yep. Okay, Mike, what is something you are currently struggling with?
Ooh, great question. I think I'm struggling with not being busy enough. And this is kind of the trade-off of taking time off and realizing that I was just putting way too much time into work was, and again, going back into like just kind of like knowing yourself, there was something about my schedule of waking up early, working out, going to work, putting in a 10, 11, 12, 13-hour day, coming home, walking the dog, cooking dinner, maybe getting another workout in. It was just like nonstop motion. And now, like, I'm still busy, right? I'm doing some consulting. I do a lot of coaching. I work on the website and development, but it's not as many hours as it used to be, right? And I think there's something, maybe it's just inner guilt of I'm not doing something, work productive 60 hours a week. And it almost feels like it's kind of lazy, like that inner voice again, right? Of kind
Uh-huh.
of, you should be working a 9 to 5. You should be going into the office and doing these things. And now I kind of create this entirely different path, which 95% of it I love. Like I love what I'm doing. But I do think I'm struggling a little bit with whether it's just the number of hours or even, and I think this is an example of coaching, right? Of me just kind of like talking about it out loud as you ask that question of, no, like maybe it is more about there is some inner guilt that I'm not on the same track I was before, right? Like I'm not collecting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I'm not focused on the things I thought I'd be focused on my entire life.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Yeah, I can relate to it on a lot of ways. Just having quit my job a couple months back, 3 months ago, and working on this app full time. And yeah, it feels like I always should be working. That's like the feeling. It's like, oh, if I'm not working, then why am I not? Like, I should be.
Give you an example. Actually, I got a haircut today at like 1:30. And the guy's like, oh, like, you taking a break from work, like your lunch break? I'm like, yeah. Cause like, like, number one, like, I don't want to get into the whole story about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need a podcast about this. Um, but there was some sense of like guilty of like, no, like, I'm not working, so I can just go
Yeah.
get a haircut. That's convenient for me. Like, there is some inner guilt about that. Even 3 years into this, kind of sabbatical, like, there's still that sense of, oh, like maybe I should be doing something else, or there's
Uh-huh.
something lazy about it. And I think anything entrepreneurial, you're gonna have that, right? Like when you have full control of your own schedule, it's a big shift from, at least for my 20 plus years working a traditional corporate role of kind of, well, like I can wake up when I want to, I can do my work. This has been a big one for me. I never realized how better or worse I am at different tasks at different times of day.
Uh,
I think being in a corporate environment where like a lot of it's dictated to you, right? Like here's your stand-up meetings, here's your one-on-ones, here's all the, and you kind of just getting work done, right? I felt like I was just trying to multitask and just get shit done however you get shit done. And maybe it's part of the reflection, maybe it's just part of kind of having different schedules, but realizing I definitely do my best creative work at night. right? It's probably like 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I can be on the couch, I got the TV on, I got my dog next to me, right? It doesn't have to be structured. And that's where I do my best thinking. That's where I do my best creating. And then like early in the day, like I love, I think this one's probably a little bit more common. Just love like just knocking some tasks away, right? So like I got another spreadsheet with all my to-do lists. If I can bang out 6, 7, 8 easy tactical things and just kind of get that sense of like, okay, like we're getting stuff done, we're moving the right direction, and that kind of just motivates me for my day. But those are things I never even thought about in my career of, hey, like could I actually work less hours if I did the work when I'm in the best mindset to do that work? Like it just never even occurred to me.
So funny enough, I actually got a haircut right before this as well. And yeah, I went, it was like 10 a.m. going to get a haircut. And there was like thoughts of like, oh, I got to rush home to get home for stand up. Like I still have that built in, like, oh, I got to make sure I'm back in time. And then it's like, no, I don't have to. And I remember, cause I worked a remote job before this, and I remember getting a haircut around like, lunchtime and being super anxious because I didn't have Slack on my phone at that point. Like it had gotten deleted or I logged out or something. And so I was like, I really got to get home in case something like came up. And I was like super worried someone's going to be on my ass about it. And then just now being like, okay, I'm the boss of myself now and I do this. So
I felt all that same anxiety. And I think that was part of the reason I worked so many hours, right? If I got an email at 7:30 at night, even though everyone would tell me like, don't feel compelled to like, work in the morning, to me, it's in my inbox. All of a sudden, like that's a trigger of like, I've got to do something about this. And it was just nonstop. And then when I went on sabbatical, I kind of went into the same mindset that you did, right? I'm just always checking my phone. It's like, there's nothing there. I'm doing my own thing there. Like, there's no one looking for me. Like,
yep.
But it's addictive. And then we actually launched a Slack for pay forward coaching. And it took me a while to train myself off of that, of like, I don't have to look at every single message. Like, there's just too many there. Or like, I can't look at every message every moment it comes in. And then starting to time block that. And that became one of my morning tasks of, okay, like knock out Slacks. Those are easy. It'll get me feeling productive. I think as a byproduct, an unintentional byproduct, it also started to train my mind of like, my phone doesn't own me. I don't need to respond to every message immediately. And again, one of those things intellectually I knew, but it took me a while to actually digest that and believe that no, it's okay. I can leave that Slack on red. I can get to it in the morning. It's okay.
Yeah. And it's also one of the pieces of being your own boss, whether that's as an entrepreneur or like in your case, running a nonprofit. Like there are an infinite number of things you can be doing all the time. Like there's always something else that you could be doing. And so being able to like pick out what the most important thing is and just like doing that thing, that's like the biggest challenge. Cause then I feel like that is what eliminates the guilt of like not of me getting a haircut. I'm like, okay, well, I know what I'm working on today. I know what's important. I'm going to knock that out. I'm just going to get this haircut now, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think going back to lessons learned, that was a mentor of mine taught me that, because as I moved up a bit in my career, it was this sense of this is nonstop. Like there was a point when I was an individual contributor, right? I hit my quota. I'm effectively done, right? Like, and like there's still stuff to do, but my inbox is clear and I hit my quota. I'm pretty good. I can relax here. And then you become a manager. It was like, okay, well, you got to hit your team quota, but you still have individual stuff to work on. And then you hit a level where it's like, this is a nonstop faucet and there's no shutting it off. Right. And I think where I really struggled was I was just trying to do everything all at once. I'm like, here's an email, here's a Slack, here's a spreadsheet, here's a project, here's a call. And that prioritization, and then probably more importantly, the deprioritization, right? Of like, hey, like what can I delegate or what can I not do till next week? And I'm okay with that. Like mentally, I can actually be okay with that. I was never good at that. And you're right, as an entrepreneur, like there's truly a nonstop. Like I've got a part of my to-do list is more of like a wish list of like, here's all the things I want to do and build and develop. And it's some of these things might take a year to do. And they're, you can break them down to smaller pieces. And I think I'm only now just getting comfortable with having a to-do list over my head that's not complete, right? That's not complete checked off. And just acknowledging that you get to a certain point or you're doing certain things, there is no end, right? Like there's no point where you're like, I'm finished, right? Like I've completed this. And it's a matter of saying, okay, like what's actually important? What's important long term? What's important for me to do this week? What's important for me to do today? What's important for me to do in the next hour? And then like that segmentation is like, all right, if I put in 40 hours a week focused on the right things, I'm not going to get to everything, but I'll be okay. Like I'll get the stuff covered that needs to be covered and it'll move in the right direction. And I can be okay saying, I'm not going to do this thing for a while, or I'm not going to do this other thing forever, even though I know it has value, even though, I do want to do it. It's just not possible right now. And that's okay. We'll focus on the stuff that we should be doing, that we can do, that is more important to do right now.
Yeah, I feel like there are lots of parallels here. Like with running, it's like you have a 10-mile training run. You do the 10 miles and then you stop there, right? Like you're like, okay, I finished. There's more running to do. I could go run 20 miles, but that's not what I'm doing today. That's not what's part of the plan. And so there has to be like a cutoff. You have to know what should I get, or what do I want to get done? What's important to get done, and just stick with that.
Yeah, I think it's actually a really great parallel. And I think that's probably part of the reason I was drawn to running was, you're right, there's no endpoint, but it's very easy to make it discrete, right? Of like, okay, I want to do 2,000 miles this year. Okay, I've got to average 40 miles a week. Okay, I'm going to do a 15-mile run on the weekend. I got to sprint 25 miles across the rest of the week. And then like I've got this plan of saying, okay, I'm only doing 3 miles today, but that is exactly what I should be doing to finish 2,000 miles for the year. And I feel really
Hmm.
good about that. It's a lot harder to quantify that when it's, I'm going to get through these emails today, right? It's like, okay, well, I don't have an email plan for the year. And
Yep.
I think like not having that probably goes back to the computer engineering, and like that's just how I'm wired. Of I wish life was more plannable like that, right? Where you could just say, okay, if I do this today and this tomorrow, like it's going to 100% be successful, right? You can do that with running to an extent, not 100%, but feel pretty confident if you have a good plan, you attack it. There's going to be injuries, there's going to be stuff you can't control, but by and large, you're probably going to be successful if you follow that plan. Whereas work, entrepreneurship, nonprofits, whatever you want to talk about, it's a lot more gray. It's a lot more muddy, right? Like you can do all the right things and it still not work out, which I think is harder for me to reconcile.
Yeah. The first 2 months I was working on the app were like super focused, super clear. I'm just building the app. Like that's the one task. Like, yes, there are tons of things within it that I'm working on, and there are struggles along the way as I'm getting stuck and solving problems. But it's like there's this one focus, and then the app releases, and it's like, okay, what the hell do I do now? There's so many options. There's so many things. And so it was that exact same thing of like, there's a discrete, like, okay, I'm going to finish this feature today. That's a good goal for today. And I get that done, and it's clearly done. And then tomorrow I kind of know the next things to do. And then again, the app comes out and I sit down to work and I'm like, okay, there's too many things here. I don't know. Yeah, this is too hard to even decide what to do.
Yeah. I don't know if you feel this way too. I think I felt somewhat similar to pay forward coaching when it was just me early on, before it became an organization. I think there was a sense of isolation of, I'm talking to people, I'm doing these coaching sessions, but like we're not broadcasting, we're not building it. There's no platform, there's no matching algorithm, there's no all this other stuff going on. And once we launched that and it became more public and we started to get feedback and incorporating that feedback, that was a lot more interesting to me, of kind of a sense of, number one, it was crowdsourcing ideas, right? It's kind of like, okay, here's what people are asking for. Here's, like, to your point, we can't do it all. So what should we focus on? What can we do now? Where we get the biggest impact, and, how to make those decisions. But having it be more kind of interactive and collaborative, even if people weren't feeling like they were part of building the platform, they were, right? That the feedback they were giving was giving us direction to what we should be doing, what was working, what wasn't working. And that alone became very motivating, of just sense of, oh, like there's people who are going to have a better experience based on the work I'm doing on this right now versus working in stealth, right? Of kind of like that, those early stages of I'm building stuff. There is some self-satisfaction of, I want to do these things this week and I got them done. But like there's no feedback, there's no kind of crowd interaction, which I think becomes really a driving force for me.
All right, Mike, let's bring this to a close with one last question. What does your dream life look like?
This will sound awful, but it's pretty close to where I am right now. It's not perfect, but um, Yeah, I've got a small family, but I'm very close to them, get to spend a lot of time with them, a lot more time with them now. Friend circle, same. I'm investing a lot more time in my friendships and not having the pressure and time suck of work to do that. Kind of feel good about where my running is and where it's going and, kind of like just what we're accomplishing there. Got a new puppy who's amazing and she's coming along great. It's almost like the way you talk about the app development, right? It's kind of like, okay, like what are the problems I've identified in my life? Like, okay, like I'm burnt out at work. Okay, well, fix that in a way I thought I never would, but fixed it. Realize what I really enjoyed about work and now I get to do like the work I do is all of that stuff, which, kind of gave me a lot more satisfaction with work. Um, Running was something I never thought I would be a runner. Like I love sports. Like the idea of just running for the sake of running sounded insane to me. It's like, and if you told me 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I'd be doing ultras, like, nah, you get the wrong guy. There's no way I'm going to spend that much time just running. Like that just sounds absurd. But then you find something you really like and you dive into it and you get to spend it. So I think that's probably, my life is far from perfect. But I think I feel a lot more empowered now that when something happens that I don't like, or there's a part of my life that isn't what I think it could be, there was a long time where I kind of just took it as it was, right? It's like, oh, well, yeah, going to work every day sucks, right? Jump into a train and squeeze into a train for 50 minutes to go there and, kind of work on someone else's schedule. And for the longest time, I didn't know there was an alternative, right? I guess I knew there was, but like I wasn't motivated enough to make a change to take that away, right? So I think right now I feel very confident that whatever things come up in my life that are imperfect, that could be better, I feel a lot more confident about taking risks and then just doing things that will make that thing better, right? It'll never be perfect. But yeah, I think right now, like just that mindset of, hey, whatever you don't like, make it better, change it, delete stuff, add stuff, do stuff that makes you happy. Yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason, for some good reason, I suppose, but it feels like there's a certain way that we have to live our lives. I know a lot of people are, depending on who you're raised by and what culture you're raised in, there's usually some type of blueprint. And stepping out of that often feels like sometimes it's not even a thought. It's like, I can't step out of this. This is what I do. But recognizing I don't have to do all these things the way that I've been doing them. It can be such a game changer.
And then to me, like that is coaching, right? I think some of the best sessions we have are people who come into a coaching session and I've been laid off and here's the thing I do. So I'm trying to find another job that looks just like that. Right. And it's like, okay, cool. But then you have a conversation about it and what do they like about the job they had before? What didn't they like about the job before? And, you end up talking to a lot of people who say like, hey, like I've been thinking about this other thing for a long time. Like now it feels like a great time to go chase that thing that I actually want. And if they can use that negative situation to be a pivot to something that they feel really great about, like it's a great opportunity. So yeah, I think life throws you like, not to close it off on a somber note, but my dad passed away in 2018, like unexpected, in good health. And that was absolutely a big driver for a lot of these things for me, right? Was, it's cliche, but like we're not promised tomorrow. If I died tomorrow and I spent my entire life working in an office building and helping other people make more money, what was the point, right? Versus if I die tomorrow now, I can say, hey, it's a lot of things I wish I did, but I spent more time helping people. I spent more time focused on the stuff I actually like. I'll feel better now about kind of like the crux of my life than I probably would have 5 years ago.
That's great to hear. Mike, thank you for coming on. Do you want to tell people where they can follow you, find out more about you, keep up with coaching?
Yeah, sure. Will, really appreciate having me on. It's a great conversation. Great questions. I listened to a couple of your podcasts before. It's like I knew what to expect. But yeah, really appreciate the time and look forward to checking out your app. You can find us at Pay Forward Coaching. I'm at LinkedIn, Mike Connolly, Michael R. Connolly on LinkedIn. That's where I do most of my posting, and social media is pretty much all I have for social media. But yeah, anyone listening, if you want to talk to someone about your career, about anything career focused, everything we do is 100% free. Payforwardcoaching.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Bye,
Real
everybody.
great talking to you.